Hey guys, welcome back to the Debate Hut. I've got a review for you guys today on a TV series called Rosewood, which aired for 2 seasons and sadly got cancelled. This review will have spoilers, so if you were planning to watch the series, watch it first and then come back and we can go through the whole TV series together with our thoughts. You can leave those in the comments down below, which I'd love to hear as well. And just to note, Grace hasn't watched the series, so Grace is completely new. I think I might have mentioned it, but I'm sure we'll hear some questions and some of her thoughts later on. But before I get into the review, please make sure to give this video a like if you like it and subscribe. Right, let's just get straight into it. So this series was actually recommended to me after watching Harrow, which I absolutely loved. Harrow is amazing, and I will do a review on it later, when we know whether if season 4 is coming or not. So I'll depend on that. But basically, what they have both in common is that they're pathology based. So thinking about like how someone died, so suspicious cases, and so like solving those cases. So there's that link with the police. And anyway, I'm not going to talk about Harrow too much, as I'll save that for that review. But back to Rosewood. So when I started it, and I mean like the first 10 minutes of the show, I was like, this looks a little boring, but it actually is really good. Like, I'm so glad I gave it more than 10 minutes because I really did enjoy it. Like, I'm really gutted that it got cancelled, and it's an amazing show. There's comedy, and I love comedy, so that's great. Anybody who loves a bit of a laugh or something, then this is for you. And the characters are really good. Like, I feel like I really felt for the characters. Like, I love the development between the characters, and you really do get drawn into them and the different aspects of their lives and relationships, especially with Pippi running away from home and Rosie and his dad, Via, and what happened to her husband. And like this stuff all gets explored. So really do get to learn about these characters and see like what's happened to them, not just during that show, but like before as well, which also sometimes has a really strong link with what they're doing in that current case as well. So this one's a bit different from Harrow because Rosie owns his own private lab. And so he gets hired by the police for like cases that, they want his help with. And I don't know, I really love Rosie. Like, he's a very different character. You're probably wondering, like, why am I calling him Rosie? But that's what they call him on there. They call him Rosie. So it probably sounds a bit weird because you're probably thinking of female, but that's actually his nickname. But yeah, his outlook on life is like really refreshing because he's a really different character because he was born with like a congenital like heart defect. So he's going through like both seasons. He goes through so many different stuff, and his family are like worried for him, and they're like, please don't overdo it. Like, we don't go overboard. Like, we'll help and all that sort of stuff. So it is really nice seeing like a character like that, but also just seeing that he's always so positive and upbeat as well, which is just really good because sometimes, like Harrow, he's like really mysterious and stuff, and House is like really sarcastic, and yeah, so you get like a different character because this character is a bit more upbeat. Like he's always sort of smiling, and he's always got something positive to say. And I loved his chemistry with Via, his police partner, who is at first like a bit hesitant about Rosie because of her past, but then they become really good friends. And do they become something more? I'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, Via is a really good character. I was a bit annoyed at her at first, and I was like, Rosie's just being nice to you. Like, why are you being so horrible? But we actually understand like why she's a bit hesitant because she's had to go through like so much like, after like losing her husband, and then actually finding out later on that actually he didn't die of natural causes, and so that was really gut wrenching as well. But yeah, this series like touches on a lot of different things like interracial dating, family and family issues, LGBT relationships, etc. Like, there's a whole lot of things, and this show doesn't skim away from it, it really does go into it. And it shows the struggles as well sometimes with like Rosie has sometimes with his family, like especially his dad, because they're quite distant. And yeah, family plays a big part. I've got to say, like Rosie's sister Pippi and her girlfriend TMI, like they work with Rosie in the lab, and his mother gets involved in the business after retiring. So it's sort of like a family-run business, sort of, with Rosie at head. But yeah, I love that because sometimes we don't get to see a lot about the family and stuff. Like we get references to them and stuff, but this show really does go into them. It shows like how they all have different ways of caring for each other. And yeah, I guess I should probably maybe talk about the cases as well, because like every single episode has its own little case, and that's why Rosie is needed, because they need him to help like figure out like what's so suspicious about the body. Is there something that that they didn't pick up on, or oh, is there like maybe a smidgen of DNA somewhere, like the fingernails or something? And so like the cases are actually really interesting. It's like interesting to see like how Rosie can pick up on like the smallest of details, and then it becomes very important. Like you learn a lot, and it's just amazing, like the way that the smallest of details can all of a sudden like you can solve a case with that, and he can feed that back to Via, and Via can then do something about that. I guess I think I did say this before to Grace, but it sort of reminds me of Lucifer, because Lucifer and Chloe, right? Lucifer's not a pathologist, like don't get me wrong, but they've also got that sort of like relationship with each other, like a person and then a police detective, and it's that sort of same thing. And I think I don't know, maybe they might have drawn some ideas from here as well. I don't know. I don't really think about it, but there's definitely like it's definitely a similarity with it. So anybody who likes Lucifer but is okay with not having Lucifer in it and the supernatural elements of it, then it's definitely for you, I think. Yeah, there is good um there's a good mix between having the crime cases but also developing the characters and their relationships with each other, because that is really important, because it's good having these really interesting cases, but you also want to feel like an attachment to the characters, and I can say I really did feel that. And there were moments when I was screaming at them. I was like, why? And I was like, oh no, like you know you want to go on that emotional roller coaster with them. You want to feel for them. You really do feel that. And I also want to mention Captain slash Detective Ira Hornstock and Captain Ryan Slade. So after Ira got demoted, which we see after season 1, I was literally so angry, and I've never been so angry in my whole life. I really liked him and his relationship with Rosie and Via, and then Ryan comes in, and he becomes the new captain, and Ira becomes a detective because he got demoted after what happened. And I really did hate Ira. Sorry, not Ira. I really did hate Ryan, because it just felt like as if he was like pushing away Ira, and poor Ira was just. I just felt really bad. But then I sort of like start to grow to like him over the episodes, and then and then there's this case. It's like one of the last episodes in season 2, and it seems like Slade might have actually done it. Like he might have actually been guilty, and I was so angry because all of a sudden, after liking the character, from going from hating them, I'm all of a sudden having to hate them again. So it's really an emotional journey. Yeah, and luckily it was fine, as you guys would know if you've seen the show, which I hope you have, because otherwise you're listening to me talk about spoilers. So, but yeah, there's definitely those are two really great characters, Ira and Ryan, and then I've also got to talk about Mitchie. And at first, when we get introduced to Mitchie, I thought he was just going to be like one of those characters that we just see for like an episode or maybe two. And I'm actually really glad that they made him like a permanent character after a bit. Like he really does add to the show. And yeah, because like I said, it was about family, but it's also about friendship as well. because even though we get to see Rosie and his family, and then Via and her mom, we also Via and her mom and her brother, I should say as well. We also get to see some of the other like really close by friends, like Ira starts dating Via's mom, and like they become really close with each other, and it's actually a big shame that it got cancelled because of the loss in ratings. But I mean, it makes sense that it got cancelled because of that. But it's a big loss because I really did enjoy it. Like I really did feel connected to the characters. But yeah, I'm just gonna talk about the ending now because I feel like that might be the moment where people are a bit maybe unhappy. And you've probably heard my review on Unforgettable, especially if you've watched it, but I wasn't happy at all with how that ended. And this one I'm sort of happy, but I'm sort of like, oh, why? Because it is a cliffhanger again, but at the same time it's not like you can just, oh yeah, anyway, yeah, so there wasn't a clear ending. So I'm gonna give you a flashback to that ending. So Via meets Rosie at the pier and tells them that she's leaving with Adrian, who's her boyfriend, to LA, who sort of wants a fresh start after everything that happened with her brother and stuff. So she wants to get that fresh start. And Rosie gives this like big speech, and it's actually such a beautiful speech. Like it's so heart melting. And it was like about like having like that special moment with special someone and how important that is, like how you should treasure that. And if you really do love someone like that, then you should go with them. Like you should not even hesitate. And yeah, Via like starts to leave afterwards, and after saying like goodbye to Rosie, because that was like the last time they would ever see each other. But then she stops and she turns around and she asks if he's ever had that special moment, and he says yes. And we know who he's talking about when he says yes, because we've seen them like we've seen that chemistry between them, and we've seen sometimes it happens, sometimes it just all fizzles out, and there's always stuff happens that that sort of stops them from being together, and we know that he's referring to her. And then Via asks him to say something to make her stay with him, and that's basically it. That's where it ends. We don't know. So yeah, excuse me, what kind of ending was that? Like, we'll never know now, like what on earth happened between like did they confess their love for each other? Did Via stay? Did Via go to LA with Adrian? Like we don't know. Like I feel really bad for Rosie, because Rosie really does like her, and she's more hesitant to get involved with him because she really does value their friendship. But yeah, at some points in the episodes, I was like, no, they're better off as friends. And then sometimes I was like, Team Rosie, Team Via, like they need to get together. Like, oh, we'll just never know now. And I mean, I might even cry
Oh,
because oh, it was just yeah. But yeah, I
mm.
want to know down below, guys. Did you enjoy the ending? Did you not?
Yeah, I gotta be honest, Emily, I don't think I've ever seen you cry. And the fact that you said you cried for this final, it must have been really heartbreaking then. Like, God. I mean, I've seen some lot of heartbreaking shows because I cry all the time, but
What was that dig at
the
me?
fact, no, but the fact, like, because you're very, it takes a lot for you to get really emotional as things. Um, so the fact that hearing that tells me that this show really sinks into you and it really gets to you, doesn't it? So like I'm just curious, like, do you like if there was another season, like what do you hope, like, or what do you think they should like focus on, like in the season, like the relationship, or do you think something else happens, or maybe
I
really and go to LA? I mean, what would you not a pop like that's like we you don't want that to happen. You want the couple to stay together, but is there anything you want like in a if season 3 happens, like what would you want to happen?
gosh, I don't even know. Like, would she stay? Would she go? Like, I would want her to go. I would want her to go to LA, but then something happens and she comes back and it picks up from there. She's no longer with Adrian, and there's no longer with that, and Rosie and her can get back together. So maybe like flash forward to like a year or something, or like a couple of months, and the show picks up from there, and we get to see their relationship evolve and actually become something, like they actually get together and also have more interesting cases, and get to see more of Pippi, get to see more of TMI, get to see more of his mum, get to see more of Mitchie, Ira, Ryan. I mean, I want to see the whole group. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
Which would you say is your favorite character in the show?
Rosie.
Like,
it has to
Rosie.
be Rosie. It has to be Rosie.
Is there a favorite case that you really,
Oh gosh.
really like that you really like watching?
I'd like the one about Slade, you know, because it was an emotional roller coaster, because I was thinking that he was, because they at first didn't want it to believe that it was him. And so they were so like, oh my gosh, is it him? Is it not? But then they sort of like do go on their own. They sort of like have to hide it away from Slade. And Ira like goes, I know you're involved, to Slade like one time on the boat. And like I was like, oh my god, Ira's gonna get killed. And it's an emotional roller coaster. And at the end we're like all relieved, because actually it wasn't Slade. Like Slade wasn't the bad guy. So it was his old boss. Yeah.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's like whoa, like what has happened? Like I didn't see that coming. So yeah, I think that was definitely one of my favorite cases. And there was another one. It was about a lost treasure sort of one. I can't really remember it. Was it an emerald? Was it a ruby or something? But yeah, that was a good one as well. But I think this one really holds a special place in my heart, because he was suddenly becoming closer to everybody, and then all of a sudden, like, it turns out that he might be a bad guy, and it's like, why would you do that? Like, I hated him, and then I liked him, and then you're making me hate him again. Like, what is wrong with you? But yeah, I think that is my favorite case. Would you watch the show?
I would. Yeah, it does sound like something I would definitely watch. And now, because you mentioned Lucifer, it just makes me sound like it sounds like something, that kind of relationship, like between just different people reacting to each other, and that kind of special chemistry. Because the way you used to describe their relationship sounded so pure and lovely. It makes me fall in love with them already, and I might try that actually. Just, I don't know, it just sounded so like beautiful, like they're so close and they walk together like they had each other's back. It just sounded just amazing just hearing from it. So yeah, I'll definitely give it a try. It's just a shame, like, because there's only 2 seasons, because it sounded like it was built for
Yeah.
like more like Lucifer, maybe like 6 or maybe even more, maybe.
I mean, I would have been happy with just 5. Like, you know, I don't want like 10, because 10 would just
no
10 is just
no,
like,
but I feel like for these kind of shows, I feel like maybe like maximum of like 5 or a bit
yeah.
more. Just
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, you got me interested now, so I'll definitely take a first see the pilot.
Yeah. Did
Definitely.
I get anybody else interested? Let me know down below as well.
Yeah.
And maybe we can hear about Grace's thoughts later on. Maybe Grace can tell us about it. Something.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you to whoever was listening to me rant about the show, because I think I did go on a bit of a rant close to the end anyway. I hope you enjoyed my review on Rosewood. And like I said before, it would be great to know your opinion, your thoughts on the ending of Rosewood, and whether you thought it was a good ending or not. Was it a really bad ending? Because maybe it is. I mean, if you've seen Unforgettable, you'll get why I said Unforgettable is like a terrible ending. But yeah, so leave us a comment down below, and please give this video a like, subscribe to the Debate Hut, and hit the notification bell to keep updated with our future releases. Okay, and that's all for today. So, bye.
Bye.